Os acessórios e equipamentos utilizados em nossas receitas você encontra no Armazém 2000.
I ordered some fondant, and I taught myself how to do it. And I practiced. And I went, years and years. And then I started to get really good, really recognized. I was in magazines every month. I was in, different bridal magazines. I was in over 200 publications in 10 years for all my wedding cakes and cakes like that. And then it, got really creative. So then from that, I started doing Food Network Challenge. So I would do like cake competitions that was on television. And it was my third competition, which, by the way, I lost. I should have won. I'm not bitter, but just saying, okay? Look, I've been around long enough to know when I can admit if I should win or lose. I lost that challenge, and I was in the kitchen, and I was so mad because I had the perfect cake. I should have won. It was not even fair. And the guy who filmed me said to me, you were great today. I said, yeah. He said, my cake was great, but how could I lose? And he said, no, not your cake, you. I go, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, you are great television. He says, you need a television show. And then I step back and I says, maybe I do need a television show. My wheels started spinning. I went home to my wife, and because I was in Denver, I flew home and I said, I was laying in bed with her, and I was kind of like, the guy Tony told me I'm really good and I should get a television show. And I kind of like rolled over because I didn't want to hear her say, oh, another one of your crazy schemes and this and that. And she turned around to me and she said, you will. I was like, what? She goes, I almost hate you for it, but anything you set your mind to, you accomplish. She says, and if you really want this and you believe it, you're going to get it. She said, I was like, okay, wow. I was like, now I'm going to go get a television show. So I immediately called up Food Network, and I said, look, I want my own television show. I said, it's about my bakery. I have a 100-year-old bakery, crazy big Italian family, and I do these giant cakes. And they said to me, no, they said, we have a cake show. And they said, it's going to air in a couple months. I mean, I'm going back to like 2005, right? So they said no. And I was like, man. And then the cake show aired on Food Network, and I was like, oh, man. Like, my show would be better. It's about family. It's not only about a cake. It's got a lot more to it. So I called them and I said, listen, I really want to do this. They said to me, listen, keep doing challenge. Keep doing the cake competitions for us, and we'll see what happens. So coincidentally, it was funny. Good story. The competition, the TLC in America, because in America we're on TLC, was looking for a cake show. So they went to all the bakers around America and said, do you have footage and this and that? So remember I said that third competition that I was in that I lost, that I should have won? Remember that I was told you about that? Well, the girl who won that tape, who won that competition, that she should have won, sent that tape to TLC. And when they got that tape, they said, who's this guy? True story. And they called me up and they said, we got this challenge tape, and we're thinking of doing a show about cakes. And I said, well, look, I got a great idea. I said, just follow me in my bakery. I have a 100-year-old business and, crazy big Italian family. So they said to me, take a camcorder and just run it through the bakery. Show us what the bakery looks like in the back and, introduce the people in the bakery. And I did. And I sent it to L.A. The next day, they called me and they said, we want to sign you. Who's your agent? And I was like, I don't have one. I was like, me, you're talking to him. And that was in 2008. I'll never, ever forget that. That's really the story of how, but it was so funny the way karma worked, right? You know, I said I should have won that challenge, and that tape is what sparked the interest to them and me. And it's funny because the guy who filmed me knew, because when they saw that tape, it was like I owned the show. I popped off the screen, and they said, you know, it was just, you know, it should have happened. Now, and again, when it started, did I think that I would be, you know, all over the world and doing this? No, I didn't really know what would have happened, but you know, it's just been like a dream come true. Yeah, it's been wild. Well, whenever I do Kitchen Boss, I gain about 10 pounds, you know, because it's 3 episodes in a day, right? So if you do 3 episodes a day and you do 3 courses each episode, that's 9 things. And what happens is when you do that, so you take a bite and you're like, oh, this is great. And they're like, oh, we didn't get that. Could you do that again? Okay. Oh, this is great. And you do it again and again. You're like, oh, God, you walk. But the first episode, you're a little hungry, you eat. Second episode, you're stuffed. But then by the third, you start cooking and you smell it and you get hungry again. It's crazy. But I enjoy doing all my television shows. The reason why we didn't do more Kitchen Boss in the U.S. was because we wanted to focus on primetime television more than daytime. Just because, you know, and how many months could I film in a year? I mean, I've already filmed about 11 months out of the year to do all the television shows. So, yeah. I mean, I think I set a record for TLC with the most content output in a year. We did 46 Cake Boss. We did 40 Kitchen Boss and 13 Next Great Baker all in 1 year. It's a lot. It's a lot of television, you know. So it just was kind of like, what do you? But honestly, now I wanna do it again because I love cooking, and my passion for cooking. I'm not a chef. I'd be the first one to admit it. You know, I don't. If you cut an onion a little, if you dice it, you slice it, you mince it, whatever. It's an onion. Put an onion in and you cook. You know, it's gonna work. Like it's more a little bit logical, like a home cook would be. And the culinary rock stars in my life was my mom, my grandmother, my father. And nothing brings families together like food. And I felt these are dishes that are accessible, that they're easy. People will make it home, because if you have to do, you know, layers and this and go get ingredients. I said when we did the show, I don't want nothing that they can't go and get at a supermarket. So yeah, I mean, you know, if you go to the middle of South Dakota, are they going to have French black lentils? I don't want to use them. Get the Goya. You get them all over the world. You know what I'm trying to say? That was kind of the perception of why we did that show. And I think that in Italian we call it peasant food, you know, because if you go back years ago, a lot of the immigrants, I mean, take my grandmother, right? She had 8 children. They came from Italy. They had nothing. And when they came here from Italy, you know, she would have to make a big pot of sauce with macaroni, even the meatballs, right? So they have meatless meatballs. They call them egg balls. We make them in Italian because they couldn't afford the meat. They wanted meatballs, so they would, you know, take breadcrumb and egg and cheese and make meatballs because that's how they ate. But it's so freaking good, you know. Like that's the food that people want to eat. You know, so the inspiration behind that was that, and it's just we want to bring those humble beginnings back and let people know to cook and do that kind of stuff. And easy food. Baking, I'll say, you know, I'm a master. That's what I do. If you want me to roll fondant, You want me to make cookies? You want me to roll dough? You want me to anything when it comes to baking? I don't even think about it. You know, when I would film that show, and I would say make a pie crust or whatever, and they would watch me, you know, work the dough and stuff, and the culinary producer during the show says, you know, you're a really good cook and the food's great, but when you bake, it's a different story. It's like magic watching you bake. It's like you're one with the dough. So it's a little bit like that. Bakery Boss is just such a great show. I mean, it's really my way of giving back to the baking community. I go into these bakeries, and some of them, you know, just need cosmetic repair. Some of them, the product is not good. Some of them, they don't know how to decorate. Some of them, the equipment's all broken. Some of them, just the families don't get along. So I felt I was like a construction guy, like a culinary teacher, and kind of like Dr. Phil, all in one, you know? Because I was giving these guys like psychological family advice. And sometimes you don't see it on my show, but like when my sisters fight, they come to me and I settle their problem. I'm like, come on, you know, what are you guys doing? Why are you doing this? So I'm always that person in the family that everybody goes to when they have a problem. Or, you know, if my wife and her mother are fighting, I have to call them over. It's crazy. It's like I'm the mediator, you know. But I feel like some people are born that way. And when you watch that show, you'll really get a sense of what I'm talking about. So in one sense, I really feel like Bakery Boss shows a side of me that the audience never saw. You know, it's a lot different. I'm not going there to yell and scream at these people. You know, even some of them get emotional with me, and I tell them, listen, I said, you know, you called me here. If you had a thriving business, I wouldn't be here. If you had it all figured out, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to pick on you. But, you know, this is what you're doing wrong. Or, you know, if I taste a product and I think it sucks, I need to tell you it sucks. I mean, it is what it is. It's not offensive. There's things in my bakery that I might not think are great, but they sell, and, you know, there's a certain clientele that enjoys them. So I could take criticism, and I like to give criticism, but I want to be honest with you. If I honestly think that, you know, this is the problem in your bakery, well, you know, that's what the show's all about. But I could tell you that all the bakeries that we went and helped, all doing really well. They're all doing a lot better for a lot of reasons. And, you know, just a little bit of love that we gave to them, I think went a long way. So you got to see that show. Honestly, you guys are going to love it. I really, it's probably the show that shows me being me like the most out of anything. It's like a real glimpse of really who I am and what I stand for. Because look, and again, there's so much that you guys don't see on television. There's so many things that, you know, I don't do them because I want to brag about them. I do them because I want to be a better person. You know, and Bakery Boss kind of puts a little bit, just a smidge of that in there. You know, so it's pretty wild. I've been blessed in so many ways. I thank God all the time. And I feel like, you know what, I have to give back. I have to give back, whether I give back financially, whether I give back with teaching, whether I give back with helping people. Whatever I can do, I do.
E aí, gostou do vídeo? Clica no link da descrição, tem acesso a todo o nosso conteúdo digital e ainda recebe em sua casa 11 edições por ano, com passo a passo de receitas e toda a informação de que você precisa. www.cake2000.com.br.
Os acessórios e equipamentos utilizados em nossas receitas você encontra no Armazém 2000.